Welcome everybody. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. So let's see here. Where do I go from here? So tonight we're going to talk about type 2 diabetes and how it's associated with immunity. Everybody on here either is type 2 diabetic, has immunity issues, or is interested in identifying how they're related. So we're going to cover a lot of information tonight. The information is going to go really rapid fire, so pay close attention. And let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Dr. Rappe. I've been in private practice for 31 years. After graduating with my doctorate degree, I literally traveled across the country the entire 31 years, traveled across this country studying with some of the best and the most famous functional medicine doctors around. I have close to 1,500 hours of postgraduate studies. Postgraduate studies would include functional medicine, functional immunology, functional endocrinology, functional blood chemistries and metabolic testing, as well as functional nutrition. So you can see that my education is a little bit more advanced than normal. My kids keep saying to me, Dad, when are you going to stop going to school? You're 61 years old. And I say to them, look, school never ends. In my particular profession, I want to help people. I need to have the latest, the greatest, the most cutting edge information. So when I work with individuals, they're getting all of the information that's at my fingertips, but that I've learned so that I can share with them so they can be as successful as possible. The testimonials you saw are just a smidgen of the many, 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 many cases that we've turned around, but it's pretty amazing. So that's what this is going to be all about tonight. We believe that if you want a different outcome, you've got to do something different. And I'm going to reference that a few times throughout the talk. I'll talk about some individual clients of ours who did the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different outcome, and it never happened. And so they ended up with lots of medications and actually becoming more diabetic along the way. And so we'll get into that as we go along. So tonight, COVID-19, we're going to cover that, America's healthcare crisis, holistic approach to diabetes and immunity. We're also going to talk about how to take action to boost your immunity and rebuild your health naturally. Everything we're going to do is a stimulate to your immune system, okay? When we're talking about diabetes, we're going to talk about how diabetes suppresses the immune system, and some diabetic drugs actually make your immune system weak, and what do we need to do to improve that? In addition to that, if you stay on the call to the end, you can receive a $200 gift from Thrive Functional Wellness Center, well worth your time. Now, I want to just clarify this. I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't change anyone's medications. This presentation is for information only. The information is not a substitute for medical advice from your doctor. The information is not meant to prevent, diagnose, treat, or to cure any health condition. That's not what this is about. And in addition to that, if you're concerned about your health condition, please discuss it with a medical doctor or visit the emergency department. COVID-19. It's been in the news. It's dominated our lives now for quite some time. So signs and symptoms, we're going to go over that. At-risk population. If you're on here, you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, you're definitely part of the at-risk population. Well, how to flatten the curve. Looks like from the news today, it sounds like we're flattening it out. We have work to do. We need to continue to do that. And then how to become proactive and take back control of your health. Really important. That's a huge piece. You see, we can't wait for this thing to end. We need to be proactive today and do everything we can to really pump up and supercharge our immune system. And that's really what our programs here do. Regardless of which program we offer, they all do the same thing. They're all going to supercharge in the end run. They're going to supercharge your immune system. You cannot wait until the next COVID comes around, till next year when something new comes around. You want your immune system as strong as possible all the time. So we're going to talk about that as well. Here are some of the comparing the colds, common cold, flus, and allergies. I think when I see these, here's the COVID-19 right here. Fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath are the most common symptoms we see. All right, and you notice down here, diarrhea is rare. Isn't that amazing? Diarrhea is rare, but look at the toilet paper shortage, right? And so also runny nose is rare. So you might have a slight fever, okay? And it could be a common cold. So this is really important to get a good grip on what these are so we don't rush to the emergency room and overwhelm our crisis care, basically our crisis care system at the emergency room and in the hospital when you really don't have the coronavirus. What are your underlying conditions do you have? Okay, these are the 99% of the people who have died from coronavirus have had at least one or more of the following conditions. Let's go through those. Diabetes, that's what the talk is about. Okay, that includes pre-diabetes, and it would include insulin resistance, obesity, heart disease. Now you can see all three of these are related. It's very common to see someone that's obese be a diabetic and have heart disease. They might have blood pressure. They might have metabolic syndrome. You may have heard that term. But these are all related, and they're all related to the coronavirus. And why? Because when we have these particular underlying conditions, they're going to minimize or weaken my immune system, which makes me more susceptible to the coronavirus. So our goal is to work on these and get our immune system back in functioning. Systemic inflammation is another one. High blood pressure is another one. And then kidney disease. So if you're taking high blood pressure pills, that means you've got high blood pressure. You're susceptible to the coronavirus. You're more susceptible because your immune system is weakened. So all of these are going to be associated with the coronavirus because we have a weak immune system if we have these underlying conditions. This came from the National Institute from Italy. Chronic diseases, 6 in 10 adult Americans have chronic disease. 4 in 10 will have at least 2 or more. Chronic disease is very prevalent. These are some of the most common chronic diseases that we see out there. Hypertension, high cholesterol, arthritis, ischemic heart disease. Okay, diabetes, there's the talk tonight. Diabetes, that includes pre-diabetes and the true underlying cause of both of those, which is insulin resistance. If you haven't heard that term, insulin resistance, that is going to be the key to tonight's talk. Kidney disease, heart failure, depression, Alzheimer's disease and dementia, and also obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Let's go back to the Alzheimer's. There's a lot of research now showing that insulin resistance in the brain and diabetes is called type 3 diabetes. Some scientists are calling it that type 3 diabetes is insulin resistance in the brain, which can be associated with dementia. The worst of and the most common is going to be Alzheimer's disease. So flattening the curve. This is what we started out with, and we're flattening it out now. So we started out here. We're starting to get this more. So social distancing has worked without question. Avoiding groups, minimizing your errands. Wash your hands. Wash your hands as much as possible. 20 seconds at least. And then closing of the schools has helped from the spread, and working from home has helped as well from the spread. And then wearing a mask. Nowadays, everybody is wearing a mask when you go out and you go to the store. They want you to wear a mask. There are some stores, at least in our area, that if you show up without a mask, they won't let you in. So these are important, very important strategies, societal strategies that we should all really pay attention to. So what else we're going to cover? If you're just tuning in, we're going to cover COVID-19, America's healthcare crisis, holistic approach to diabetes and immunity, and also how to take action to boost your immunity, protect your health naturally. In addition to that, if you stay on till the very end, I mentioned this earlier, there will be a $200 gift certificate from Thrive Functional Wellness Center. America's healthcare crisis. Now, before I go any further in this, let me say this. We have the most amazing crisis care system in the world. Crisis care. And all of the frontline people right now, the doctors, the nurses, behind the scenes staff, the hospitals, the urgent cares, the emergency rooms, the people that are manufacturing equipment and durable medical goods, all of those individuals are on the front lines. We have the most amazing people in the world and what they're doing today. That's what shows you what our crisis care system can do. The problem is when it comes to what happens to chronic conditions, and diabetes is a chronic condition, is that our system tries to apply crisis care methodology to chronic conditions. And it doesn't work. And I'm going to show you through the presentation tonight how things have gotten worse and why. So Big Pharma is part of it. They're interested in making money. They've got shareholders they have to impress because they're selling stock. They're interested in the bottom line, which is money. In addition to that, you've got the insurance companies and a lot of misleading information. I call it crisis insurance, not health insurance. People come in and they wave their card. Oh, I've got a health insurance card. I'm going to be healthy. And I'm saying, well, did you wave that over your food every night before you ate it because you're 150 pounds overweight, you're full-blown diabetic, you're taking medications for your kidneys, you're taking high blood pressure meds? So that card isn't helping. You can wave it all you want. You still have to make good choices. And again, this just reiterates the fact that crisis care does not do well with chronic conditions. The main goal for big pharma and insurance is to make money, money, and money. That's their goal. So it's not your doctor's fault. I'm not here to beat up your doctor. I'm not here to replace your doctor. I don't change anybody's medications. That's not my job. My goal is to help guide you down a path to reverse your diabetes, and your doctor's job then is to reduce and eliminate those medications that are no longer necessary based on laboratory testing. Everything we do here is scientific. I'm going to show some statistics tonight, so let's go through a few of those. 75% of the $2.7 trillion we spend in the United States every single year on healthcare is spent on diseases that are largely preventable. If a disease is preventable, that means that we developed it over time. We can also reverse it. Now, I've held many babies in my day. None of them have ever had diabetes, type 2 diabetes. None of them had high cholesterol, heart disease, high blood pressure, any of the chronic degenerative diseases that we see out there today. So if we look at the whole total landscape out there today, we're going to see 75% of all disease out there today is chronic degenerative diseases, and they're preventable, okay? So it's really important to understand that we spend a lot of money on preventable diseases, and the problem is we spend so much money because acute care or the crisis care system fails with chronic disease. That's the bottom line. The United States spends $425 billion every year on pharmaceutical drugs. This came from the CDC and the FDA. Why is that a big thing? Well, it's a big thing because we only make up 5% of the world population. So let me put $425 billion into perspective. That represents 75% of all the drugs manufactured on the planet every single year. So in the United States, we only make up 5% of the world population, but we're literally consuming 75% of all the drugs. In my opinion, this validates the fact that crisis care, the crisis care and crisis care system does not work with chronic conditions. And the statistics bear that out. Now, is there a place for pharmaceutical drugs and orthodox medical procedures? Absolutely. Let me give you a quick little story. My brother received a double lung transplant in November of 2019. The drugs that he's taking absolutely save his life every single day. He's taking anti-rejection drugs that are going to keep his body from rejecting his new lungs. So absolutely pharmaceutical drugs are necessary in certain cases. But in most cases, particularly when we're dealing with chronic degenerative diseases like diabetes, they make us worse. That's the key, and we're going to show you how that works here in a second. Again, acute care fails when it comes to chronic issues. So let's look at insurance, the fancy health insurance card everybody waves around. Well, what health insurance doesn't do is they don't teach us. They don't teach us what we should be doing, how we should be doing, and when we should be doing it. They don't teach us any of that. If somebody shows up at their doctor's office, they get with high blood pressure, which is a symptom, what do? Flat out, they give them a drug. Okay? What do we do in my office? I mentioned earlier, I practice functional medicine. Functional medicine is identifying the underlying cause and resolving it using all natural methods. So with regards to someone who is a diabetic, we know the underlying cause. We want to resolve it using all natural methods. We teach. Our program is about education, and then teaching you what you should be doing on a daily basis, how to apply it in your life as far as your lifestyle goes. In addition to that, the insurance companies don't teach you why you should be eating organic. The key to eating organic is simple. Organic foods don't have pesticides. A normal piece of fruit or a vegetable in the United States that's not organic could have between 200 and 300 pesticides on it. These pesticides are toxic. They're going to interrupt and they're going to really disrupt our metabolic processes, our chemical pathways, physiologically and chemically. They're going to really alter what's going on in our body because they're chemicals. We want to keep those out of our bodies. So the insurance companies, they're not teaching that. They should be teaching every one of their members about why we should go organic. In addition to that, exercise. There is so much research out there about exercise, and particularly diabetes. I know everybody says, I got to go to the gym. You don't have to go to the gym. I don't go to the gym. Okay? And so you don't have to go to the gym, but someone needs to teach you what exercises I need to do because there's different methodologies. The methodology that we teach in our office is straightforward. It's a methodology that's going to reduce blood sugar. It's going to increase hormone production. And in addition to that, as a icing on the cake, so to speak, it's going to really work the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus of the brain. And those are the areas of memory with regard to the dementia. So when we exercise those areas, they're like a muscle. They get big and firm, and they really stave off any of the cognitive dysfunctions that are down the road for us. In addition to that, your insurance doesn't pay for any of these. What does your insurance pay for? Typical insurance is going to pay for your doctor visits, the drugs he's going to prescribe, and at some point you get to a place where you need a surgery, they'll cover that as well. In my opinion, they should be covering all these other areas first and foremost. If we did that, as I'll show you in some slides, we could literally reduce the number of diabetics in the country, reducing the overall medical costs. Again, acute care fails when it comes to chronic issues because we're not educating. We're using drugs as a first line. What does that mean? Your medical doctor, God bless them, they're good people, they mean well. They've just been trained different. Their training is all about what drug can I give you to minimize your symptoms. That's it. They're not interested in underlying cause. So let's say you're taking a high blood pressure pill. How long do you take it? Well, you'll take it for the rest of your life because it never addresses the true underlying cause. In this case, tonight we're talking about diabetes. If you're taking diabetic meds, type 2 diabetic meds, metformin, or any of the other oral medications, or even injections, how long you'll take them? You'll continue to take them because they don't address the underlying cause, and the science shows they actually make us worse. And I'm going to validate that in a couple of slides. So diabetic facts. 100 million Americans are diabetic or pre-diabetic. That means we have insulin resistance. Remember that word. Insulin resistance is the true underlying cause of prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes drives inflammation. Diabetes drives inflammation. Diabetes is the #1 cause of blindness and kidney failure. In addition to that, 70% of the diabetics out there are going to have neuropathy or develop neuropathy even when they're taking drugs. So that shows you that the medications aren't doing their job. And lastly, the research has shown us that diabetes has tripled since the 1980s, and it's going to triple again between now and 2030. This came directly from the CDC, and this validates that the medications are designed to minimize symptoms, not to correct the underlying cause. So we're developing more and more and more diabetics are coming on board or getting worse. Here's a big part of the reason. They've got all these fancy drugs. If anybody that's watching tonight has seen the commercials on TV, my favorite is the little guy, and he's mowing the lawn, and he's taking either it's Farxiga or something, and he's dancing and he's singing and mowing the lawn. Listen, when I was a kid, I mowed lawns to make money to go to the movies. I never danced and sang one time. But they present it to you that way, then you'll think in your mind, you're going, oh, if I take the drug, I'll dance and sing too. So it's a marketing gimmick. In addition to that, everybody on here should understand this. Unfortunately, the medications used to prescribe for type 2 diabetes are very short-term fixes that can lead to serious long-term consequences. I talked about that. Heart disease, blindness, kidney failure. So the type 2 diabetic medications can lead to long-term consequences. Everybody on here needs to think that way. If you're one of those people that's sitting there and you're listening to this and you're going, well, I manage my diabetes, that's the wrong thought process. You're taking a drug to minimize your symptoms. It's doing nothing for the underlying cause, and you will get worse over time, and eventually you will suffer some of those long-term serious consequences. This is the other part of the problem. This is the diabetic food pyramid. If we look at this, the #1 thing they advocate that diabetics eat is this: breads, grains, pastas, and starches. All of these, that's the #1 thing you should consume on a daily basis. They throw in some vegetables and fruits, okay? Then up here, they've got some meats and some other proteins, eggs and some cheese. There's dairy. And up here, it's fascinating. They put fats and sweets together. The worst thing you can do is eat fats and carbohydrates or sugars together. Your body goes crazy, your insulin level spikes, it stores fat like crazy, and then you'll come to me and say, I don't know why I can't lose weight. So this thing is completely backwards. This is absolute travesty that they tell people they should eat this. These foods literally will increase your insulin levels, and they'll drive insulin resistance. Remember, insulin resistance is what really is the underlying cause, and that's what we do differently in our office. We're not managing your drugs. We're going to break down and get rid of your insulin resistance so your body can do what it's supposed to do naturally. This is one of my mentors, Dr. Beichman. He's a diabetes and an obesity scientist, absolutely amazing, just a genius when it comes to insulin resistance. He says, most importantly, insulin resistance per se won't kill you. No one dies from insulin resistance. However, it's simply a vehicle that gets you there. So literally, it's the vehicle that takes you to type 2 diabetes, obesity, heart disease, high blood pressure, and it takes you to these other chronic underlying diseases. So we need to eliminate insulin resistance so you don't get to those other places. And if you're there, we can help you reverse those. This is an interesting slide I put together. It says, are you insulin resistant? Answer some of these questions. They're literally asking you if you have high triglycerides, a family history of heart disease, have you failed to lose weight on a low fat diet? All these different things would equate you to being insulin resistant. If you've been told you're pre-diabetic, I guarantee you have a couple of these on there. If you're a type 2 diabetic, you definitely have these on there. So let's look at what exactly is insulin resistance. Insulin resistance really is at the cellular level. Every single cell in your body has receptor sites for insulin. That's how important insulin is. It really controls the metabolic processes in the body. When you have a high insulin, you're going to have low metabolic process. You're going to have low metabolism. High insulin, low metabolism. That's why we see people that are taking diabetic medications many times will gain weight. But so let's say we eat a meal. We eat a meal and you can see here's the glucose. The yellow is the glucose. The insulin then is produced from the pancreas, and its job is simple, to take the glucose from the blood to the cell for energy. And this is what happens. That's normal physiology. But when we develop insulin resistance, because of repeated spikes of insulin over and over and over again, repeated spikes of glucose, insulin, glucose, insulin, glucose, insulin, glucose, at a cellular level, your cells determine this is enough, I'm not doing this anymore. They become resistant. So the next time insulin shows up to deliver its package, it gets blocked. So my blood sugar just goes up, 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 up. Your doctor will tell you then, oh, by the way, you're type 2 diabetic now. Let's give you a drug. Metformin is the most common. And metformin will lower your blood sugar temporarily. Remember, temporary short fixes. But the resistance will get stronger and stronger, so your blood sugar goes back up. That's when the doctor will tell you we need to increase your dose. Raise your hand if you've had your doctor increase your dose. Has anybody had that? I'm sure somebody out there has. Come on, is anybody participating? Raise your hand. All right, let's see what we got here. There, raise the hand. There we go. So they'll raise your dose until they've maxed out that particular medication. All medications have a maximum dosage. Once that happens, they'll stack another one on top of it, and they'll stack another one. Eventually they say, well, your blood sugar just isn't coming down with all the drugs we're giving you, so we're going to give you insulin on top of those other drugs. And so again, it's validation for what I'm saying. The drugs will cause more insulin resistance and make it stronger. Your doctor will increase the dosages and continue to give you more medications, different types of medications, and eventually put you on insulin. And once you're on insulin, again, you're at a place where your body is just not responding. Your blood sugar is going to be high. We're developing systemic inflammation. Systemic inflammation is going to lower your ability to fight off the coronavirus because elevated inflammation is going to lower your immune system. So what do we do different? We have a program to reverse type 2 diabetes. First off, we've got to break down the insulin resistance. We've got to eliminate the insulin resistance and reverse the type 2 diabetes. And this is how we do it. Right like this. We eliminate the insulin resistance, and now our body's natural insulin can develop and deliver the package. When we do this, every one of the testimonials you saw at the beginning, they worked in coordination with their doctor, and he reduced their medications until they were finally off because their body was able to actually function normally. We eliminated the insulin resistance. Their normal bodily insulin could then deliver the packages of glucose, lowering their blood sugar. And that's really the goal for what we want to do. If your goal is to reduce or eliminate your medications, fantastic, you're in the right place. If your goal is to do that as well as stimulate and supercharge your immune system because of the coronavirus and all that's going on out there, you're in the right place. Reversing your type 2 diabetes is going to supercharge your immune system. Pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or insulin. So you see here, elevated insulin is going to increase my inflammation, not just in my body, but in my brain. That's why I mentioned earlier about type 3 diabetes that's associated with dementia. When your brain cells cannot absorb the glucose that insulin is delivering because of insulin resistance, they're not going to function normally. We're going to start to develop memory issues, dementias, and ultimately Alzheimer's. And so I personally have worked with Alzheimer's cases. That's not what you want. In addition to that, when we have elevated insulin and elevated inflammation, those both are going to minimize or weaken my immune system. And in today's environment, we want a really strong immune system. So moving forward in the future, we want to have a strong immune system for the next virus that comes around, for the next flu season that comes around. As long as these are some of the diabetic myths, I hear these all the time, and it really is discouraging because people are brainwashed to think as long as you take your medication, diabetes is no big deal. I just laid out to you a systematic step-by-step process where medications will literally make you more diabetic. I have more validation and proof of that as we move forward. But this is one of the myths, and it drives me crazy. And I say, really? It is? I just showed you it doesn't work that way. So if you're taking medications and you're saying to yourself, well, I'm managing my diabetes, managing your diabetes isn't good enough because over the long haul, it's going to create and cause severe damage, and you're going to have significant issues, whether it's heart attacks and strokes, whatever it happens to be. Diabetes is genetic and you just have to live with it or learn to live with it. I've heard people say their doctor told them that. That's hogwash. Lifestyle can trump genetics. Every single one of our testimonials changed their lifestyle and they were able to beat their type 2 diabetes. In addition to that, diabetes always gets worse. I hear that as well. Well, according to the Center of Disease Control, they say, quote, diabetes is preventable and controllable. Again, if it's preventable and controllable, it's therefore reversible. And that's really what we want to do. Again, we have to eliminate the insulin resistance so your body can function normally. Your processes function normally so that your body can produce the insulin it needs and it'll do its job and receive it at the cell and get our blood sugar under control. Eliminating insulin resistance. This is one of our clients. I like to always show some real, these are real lab tests that came from LabCorp. This gentleman came to us, interesting, worked with the same doctor for 20 years. 20 years, same doctor. He came to us, he was taking 3 oral medications and 2 different insulins. The injections were twice a day of both insulins. So he had been stacking and stacking and stacking for 20 years. His doctor was doing the best he could with what he learned in school, which was what drugs do I give you to minimize your symptoms? In this case, he was on 5 medications for diabetes, 5 diabetic meds. We worked with him, and 3 months later, he was off all of his medications, and you can see down there in green, his A1C was 5.4. What did we do? We taught him what to do, how to apply it on a daily basis, and we literally broke down his insulin resistance and reversed his type 2 diabetes. Quick story is he took his labs, he went back to his doctor looked at him and basically got up and walked out of the room. Instead of saying, what's going on? Who is this doctor you're working with? I want to work with this guy. I can refer him some clients. He can help me because I obviously am not helping people. They're getting worse. In this case, his ego got in the way. So we want to make sure that we're not stuck in a situation that, remember, if you want a different outcome, you've got to do something different. And that's exactly what this gentleman did. We're going to look at some diabetic complications. Everybody that's on here tonight should be familiar with this and what's going on. Obesity is one of them. Obesity can also be a risk for developing autoimmune diseases. Autoimmune diseases are rampant in our country. Most of them are undiagnosed. We see it all the time. We do blood work on people. They come back and they've got an autoimmune condition. When you have autoimmunity, you're highly susceptible to the coronavirus or the COVID-19 because autoimmune is going to attack your body and it minimizes or it reduces your immune system's ability to fight off infections. And the autoimmunity could be a lot of things. Down here we have lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's, IBS, just to name a few. You can have autoimmune type 1 diabetes as well, just for informational purposes. We also see diabetics will develop neuropathy. About 70% of diabetics will develop neuropathy, even taking the medications. So again, they're not addressing the underlying cause, they're minimizing your symptoms. That peripheral vascular disease, what does that mean? Loss of blood supply to the periphery, meaning to the fingers and the toes, the hands and the feet. When we lose blood supply, guess what happens? That's right, they cut them off. So you've got to do something, because eventually you're going to get this happen to you. They're going to cut you off. Diabetics are 4 times more likely to develop a heart attack and a stroke. This is due to inflammation. If you're sitting here tonight and you're watching what I'm saying, you personally are 4 times more likely to have a heart attack and stroke, even taking the medications that you're on. We've got to reduce the inflammation, and that's going to also include eliminating your insulin resistance. Big, big thing. Heart disease is the leading cause of death amongst men and women in the United States. Heart disease kills 37 people every second in the United States of America. 37 people every second die from heart disease. Heart disease is driven by inflammation, and diabetes is one of the leading causes of inflammation in the body. Research has also shown us that 80% of all cardiovascular disease, it can be prevented by reducing inflammation and adopting healthy lifestyle behaviors. The American Heart Association said that. Some of the other complications are going to be eye disease, macular degeneration, blindness, kidney failure, kidney disease. Okay, most of the diabetics that we see are at a place where they've been on their drugs long enough where the doctor is putting them on a high blood pressure medication, because reducing the blood pressure will help the kidneys. This diabetic disease is a huge burden on the family. Whether it's because you can't participate in family outings, you can't do certain things with your family at work, after work activities, it's just a burden on the entire family, not just you, it's your whole family. And then of course, loss of life. People die from diabetes all the time, or they die from the complications of diabetes, but it's never directly written down that it was a diabetic issue. Meaning I had heart disease because of my diabetes and I had a heart attack, it's going to be classified as a heart attack or heart disease, not diabetes. So your diabetes could easily lead to the loss of life, which is horrible for your family. I personally had my mom die when I was a little boy. We'll talk about that. It was a terrible experience, and I still struggle with it today, almost 54 years later. What we do different in functional medicine, okay? Functional medicine is all about correcting the underlying cause. When you come to me, our goal is to correct the underlying cause. We know you have type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes, which is insulin resistance. We know the cause, insulin resistance. So our goal is to eliminate insulin resistance using all natural methods. That's functional medicine. Your medical doctor, what he does is he's going to prescribe you a drug to minimize your symptoms. Those drugs will never, ever correct the underlying cause. As I showed you earlier, the gentleman who saw the same doctor for 20 years progressively got worse over that 20-year period. Okay? We literally saved his life. So in functional medicine, we do a little bit differently. We cut our lab ranges down. We narrow them down to this. The lab ranges for the medical doctor is going to be 4.0 to 6.5. If you're anywhere inside of that range, they're saying, you're fine, you're good to go, no worries. You're good. They don't mention anything until you become a full-blown diabetic above 6.5. In functional medicine, we use 4.8 to 5.6 because we know when you're in this range here, you're good. But once you've gone over this range, you're a pre-diabetic, you have insulin resistance. The underlying cause, we've got to resolve that so we don't end up going above the 6.5 and taking drugs and getting stuck on them for the rest of our life. In reality, high blood sugar poisons the body. It literally poisons your body and damages your heart, your kidney, your eyes, and your nerves. It's poison to us. And it's the #1 abused drug on the planet is sugar. The #1 abused drug on the planet is sugar. I showed you this one earlier. It just goes back to validating what I said earlier. He was on 5 medications here, worked with the same doctor for 20 years. He worked with us for 3 months. We reversed his diabetes, reduced his risk to almost nothing of heart attack or stroke. Absolutely phenomenal. Changed his life completely. Can we predict the future of your health? I say we can. That's my opinion. If you come to me, I can almost guarantee you we're going to change your life. How do we do that? Well, we're going to order all the tests necessary to identify what's really going on with you. What's the true underlying cause? What's happening? Is my liver dysfunction? Are my kidneys working? Is my pancreas working? Do I have any other issues that I'm missing? High blood sugar, thyroid dysfunction. We see a lot of thyroid dysfunction, autoimmunity. All of these things play a role in whether we're healthy or not. So we're going to run all the tests to really identify what's going on with you. Then we want to determine the true underlying cause and focus on cause, not symptom. I don't care so much about your symptoms. I care about what's causing them. We want to resolve those using all natural methods. From there, we want to correct the underlying dysfunction and not alter the lab using drugs. I have two examples. One is this. If you have high blood sugar and your doctor's giving you multiple drugs, he's attempting to reduce your blood labs using drugs. Those aren't real numbers. Same thing goes with cholesterol. If your doctor's giving you a statin to lower your statin, your liver is producing cholesterol for a reason. So when he gives you a statin drug to lower your cholesterol, those aren't real numbers. He's altering those numbers using drugs. We want to correct any laboratory dysfunction using all natural methods. And that's really what we're doing here. We address the body as a whole because most people we see that are pre-diabetic or diabetic have other issues as well. And again, anytime we have an underlying dysfunction that we've talked about today, it's going to have a negative impact on your immune system, whether it's high blood pressure, heart disease, it could be type 2 diabetes, thyroid issues, gout, it could be gastrointestinal dysfunction. All of these issues are going to minimize and reduce the ability for your immune system to be strong enough to fight off the COVID-19. We use a systematic approach. A systematic approach is this, step by step. Every person that was in the video earlier that we showed, the testimonials that we showed, every single person followed a step-by-step process. What this means is we've been doing this for 30 years. I just got into my 31st year in April. So here's how it works. A systematic approach means this. We need to teach you what you need to do, and then we need to take you by the hand and help you apply it. We see a lot of people that end up saying to us, I've read books, I think I know what to do, but I just can't do it alone. They just don't have a systematic approach, how to apply this knowledge on a daily basis. And that's why our people are successful, and that's why our success rate is so high, is that we take you by the hand and literally show you how to do what we do in the office. And then this will become your lifestyle. In addition to that is mentoring and coaching. Mentoring and coaching is huge. You notice when you watch TV, if you watch any television, you're going to always see Marie Osmond, okay? Drop the weight, Marie. But if you watch that commercial, over the last year or so, they started using mentoring and coaching. They've added it to their program because they realize that it's a big part of why people like me are so successful. The program that I mentioned, Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem, Lindora, Slim Fast, all of the biggest programs out there, they fail when it comes to long term. Why? Because they send you packages of food or have you counting calories and starving yourself. When you go back to normal eating, no one has taught you what you should be doing and how to be healthy. And the research shows, I think came from UCLA, the research that's come out shows that 98% of the people that do those programs gain all of their weight back and more because no one has taught them what to do long term. They haven't learned anything. They've just done a weight loss diet and then they gained it all back. What we're going to do is we're literally going to turn your life around and teach you what you should be doing. So mentoring and coaching is a big deal for us. Lori is on right now, so she's probably answers and questions. If you have any, go ahead. She'll answer them. She's a certified functional medicine coach. She's well versed in all this. She's been on board with us in this program the entire time. She's amazing. She's really, really knowledgeable. I would suggest if you have any questions, ask her. And we're going to have a Q&A at the end. She's a big part of our mentoring and coaching program. The pillars of health. Everybody that does our program, we walk them through the pillars of health because we have to have a foundation to go from there. We clean, cleanse, and repair gut, kidneys, liver, and all of the bodily systems. We've got to get your body functioning normally. Then we've got to teach you proper nutrition. There's lots of different types of nutrition out there. Some are driven by ideology. Some are driven by different special interest groups. In this case, everything we do in our office is scientifically based. Once we get you to a certain level, if you're going to work with us, we choose to take you as a client. Once we get to a certain level, we're going to fine tune everything specifically to you. What works best for you? Just because your sister did Zumba doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Just because you do what we say doesn't mean it'll work for your sister. So we fine tune and customize everything we do to you as an individual, and it's all based on your blood work. Everything's based on laboratory testing and blood work. So nutrition is really straightforward. We teach you what to eat to be healthy and non-diabetic, and what to stay away from that got you sick in the first place and has kept building stronger and stronger insulin resistance. So we've got to reverse that. Then we have to do fitness. Fitness is a huge part of what we do. You don't have to spend hours and hours in a gym, 30 minutes, 3 times a week at minimum. The key here is this. My nephew is a researcher at the University of Minnesota. One of the first research projects he did when he got out of school is he worked on diabetes. And he was able to determine that exercise and nutrition reduced blood sugar levels 4 times greater than metformin, which is the #1 leading drug. So again, nutrition and fitness is addressing the underlying cause. The medication, metformin, is minimizing the symptom. So there's a huge difference. We got to do fitness. I'm a fitness fanatic. I love it. I do it all the time. Hormones. We have to test your hormones because hormone imbalances can also help drive diabetes, drive cholesterol dysfunction, hyperlipidemia. It can drive liver dysfunction. It can drive also thyroid issues. So we've got to test your hormones and identify if you have any imbalances, what they are. And again, nutrition and fitness are going to help balance hormones, but then we're going to come in and step in and use some supplementation to really provide that which your body is needing to get your hormones in balance. Because many times hormone imbalance is due to missing certain nutrients that are not there. And lastly is nervous system. The nervous system is important. The nervous system plays an important role in everything in our body. In addition to the nervous system, is we've got to clean, cleanse, and repair your gut. Gut dysfunction leads to low immune system. Why? 70% of your immune system resides in your gut. So if you've got leaky gut, if you've got diarrhea, constipation, IBS, diverticulitis, Crohn's disease, any of these issues in your gut is gonna really suppress your immune system. So we've got to have a super healthy gut. It's really important. If I don't have a healthy gut, I can give you the best nutrition on the planet. I won't break it down and absorb it. I won't be healthy. So that gut is super important to not only everything else in the body, but with the brain as well. The #1 neurotransmitter associated with depression, for any of you that might have experienced bouts of depression, I know a lot of people have called us and said, look, I'm quarantined in my house. I'm having bouts of depression. If we can clean the gut and get it functioning normally, it's going to produce enough serotonin that's going to minimize or eliminate those depressive symptoms. The gut is huge. We've got to deal with it. Lastly, 94% of failure is due to not having a system to apply the knowledge that we teach and support, including certified coaching and mentoring. So in other words, this takes me back. We've got to have a system, a step-by-step process that you can employ on a daily basis. We need to teach you how to do it and walk you through the process, keeping you accountable. Accountability is big. We want to make sure that you're accountable. If you fall down, we'll pick you up and clean you off. But look, accountability is a big deal. We all have to take responsibility for the health status that we have today. If you're going to go down this path, please don't rely on your niece's boyfriend's cousin's sister's niece, nephew, sister, friend who's taking a class at the local community college in nutrition. You're going to fail miserably. You need to work with a functional medicine practitioner like myself. I'm a certified functional medicine practitioner, 300 hours postgraduate studies in functional medicine. It's absolutely imperative that you work with somebody that has the knowledge and the experience. Thousands and thousands of cases that we've worked with using functional medicine. I personally have an autoimmune condition, so I have to keep my immune system absolutely supercharged so that I don't get the coronavirus. And I live this every single day. What I'm going to teach you is the way I live, and so does my wife. She also has an autoimmune condition. So if you're going down this path, you need to work with someone who knows what they're doing. This is Marty, is one of our clients. His video's not playing, so just listen in.
Talk about Dr. Rappe and Lori and the program that I've been in. I had been diagnosed with diabetes many, many years ago, and I had been struggling with that all of that time. And my doctor's solution, of course, was just to add more medications and more medications to it. Nothing was getting resolved, and I really went out to seek out a more holistic approach, some other kind of an approach besides the typical medical approach, and happened to find Dr. Rappe and Lori through an ad in the newspaper. I went to the seminar. I knew immediately at the seminar that this was the program for me. I had really tried in the past to do this on my own, to try to lower my blood sugars, to eat better, because I read enough that I knew what I should be doing, but I just could not do it on my own. But when I joined the program here, it has made all the difference in the world for me. My numbers are better. I am completely now off of my diabetes medications. I am sleeping better than I ever have. I've lost weight. I am eating better, and I feel absolutely amazing. I feel like $1,000,000 every day when I get out of bed. I wake up at the same time. I'm ready and eager to go, where that wasn't the case before. And I think the biggest benefit that I've gotten from this program, that's just kind of come out as a seeming side benefit, is that my head is clear. It's like the fog has lifted out of my head. Not even something that I really realized or conscious was happening before, but oh my goodness, what a difference that has made. So with the changes that I've made physically, I've made some really great mental changes as well. And so my life has just gotten better all the way around in every way that I can even imagine. My everyday life, my relationship, including the work that I do, has even gotten better because of this program. I would highly recommend that anybody that's facing the same situation that I was in, being diabetic and trying to manage that and trying to manage it with drugs and it not working, to get in touch with Dr. Rappe and Lori, get into the program, make it happen for you. And just as a side note, it's not as hard as some people think it might be.
Okay, so let me just say one thing. He spoke right there, what he said to you. His brain wasn't working. He had insulin resistance in his brain. He had developed type 3 diabetes. He didn't know. He had no idea. He couldn't understand why he couldn't think clearly and whatnot. And we were able to reverse that for him. So what a tremendous, tremendous outcome. And it literally changed Marty's life. So ask yourself the following questions. Just ask yourself, what would your life be like if you were able to resolve your health issues? Okay? How has my life been affected? Maybe how about my relationships? My ability to work? My ability to enjoy life and have fun? I hear more times than not, people say, I don't do like I used to. I don't do this anymore. I don't do that anymore. I used to love to do this. I can't take my kids camping anymore. Whatever it is. My ability to enjoy life and have fun. I mean, ask yourself these questions. These are really important right now in your head. And then on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to resolve your health issues? This one in particular I ask specifically because I'm very selective about the people I take. We have a very high success rate because we pick and choose the people we work with. If you're not motivated, if you're not an 8, 9, or a 10, motivated to do something different, to really get your inflammation under control, to boost your immune system and do everything you can to minimize or eliminate your type 2 diabetes, you're just not ready for what we have to offer. So you need to really think about how motivated you are. It's not hard. It's just a matter of doing what you need to do. It took you years to become a full-blown diabetic. It's going to take some time to reverse it, but your life will change in the short term big time. Marty proved that. A lot of people ask me, Dr. Rappe, why? Why do you do this? Why do you do this work? Why do you do functional medicine? All those things. And I mentioned earlier about my childhood. When I was 6 years old, living in a little tiny town in Minnesota, my mom developed cancer. She was admitted to the hospital. Now, for whatever reason, that hospital would not allow my 2 brothers and my sister and I to visit her. She was there for about 3 months. So you can only imagine that at 6 years old, your mom is your primary caretaker. the hugs, the love, the kisses at bedtime, all the stories, all reading books, all that stuff was a huge part of our lives. And then it was ripped away from us, just torn away. There was an empty hole in our lives. Now, my dad sat us down one Saturday and said, look, guys, your mom's coming home for a visit. I thought that meant permanent. I'm a little kid, 6 years, mom's coming home. That's all I heard. So they brought her home. She came home on a Saturday. When she got home, they put her in a wheelchair and they wheeled her into the backyard because we were going to have a picnic. She had a scarf on her head. She had sunglasses on. She couldn't walk. She couldn't talk. And to this day, I don't know whether she even knew who I was. Did I care? No. I hadn't seen her in 3 months. We hugged on her. We kissed on her. We loved her like you can't believe. And then they put her back in the car to take her to the hospital. And we were in panic mode. The kids, my brother and sister and I, we all screamed and hollered and bit people. We did everything. Don't take her away from us again. Okay? I didn't realize it at the time. I found this out many, many, many years later. My dad shared it with me. He had discussed and agreed with the doctors that it was an opportunity. He fought with the doctors. It was an opportunity to bring her home for one last time so she could love and hug her kids. And she got to see us and hug us and love us. She died 2 weeks later. And so that was a horrible experience. I'm sorry, I'm a little emotional. It was a horrible experience, and I don't want anybody to go through what I went through. So I've dedicated my entire career to helping people not to experience what I went through. And I made a promise to my wife 28 years ago when we got married. I said, honey, we will not allow this to happen to our kids. I don't care what it costs. I don't care what I have to do. I will do whatever it takes to make sure my kids don't go through what I went through as a little boy. It affects me to this day. It drives me every day. It's my passion. It's the reason I'm still here. My office is open. I'm still treating people because I will do everything I can until I take my last breath to help any of you out there who want my help. Period. I will literally do anything to help you. So what we're going to offer is a free call. We have a free call. There's my gorgeous wife. Look at her. Man, am I the luckiest guy on earth? Yes, I am. We're going to offer a free call. And in this call, what we're going to do, we're going to discuss what are you going through right now? How have you tried to address your health concerns in the past and what has failed for you? What are you presently doing? In addition to that, how can myself, Dr. Rappe, and our team help you along the way? In addition to that, a plan of action preparing you to speak with me if you choose to make an appointment for a consultation with me personally. Okay? The way to get on this call is this. You're going to go on here, and I believe this came up in the questions and answer box. You've also probably got a text. You're going to take this. You're going to go to this link, and there'll be a schedule there. You can book for a free 15-minute call. So if what I said today makes sense, this call is really giving you an opportunity to talk with us further, for us to get a little better idea of what's going on with you, to make sure that what I offer is a good fit for us. Because I said earlier, I don't take everybody. I only take those cases that I really, truly believe I can help, and I know that that person is being honest and telling me they're willing to do the work necessary to turn their life around. Okay? So it's really, really important. Now, if, again, what I've said today, you've heard enough from me, you've got a good feel for office, I've been here for 31 years, that means honesty, integrity is my number one. That's my number one, okay? My number one is to be honest and speak with integrity, and that's what I've done for 31 years. That's why I've been here so long. If you are happy with what you heard, it makes sense to you, and you believe you have an issue that we can deal with, your diabetes, you want to take the steps to take care of it and to correct it, you're ready and willing to do something, you can certainly go straight into a consultation with me. The consultation would be this. It's a one-on-one consultation with Dr. Rappe. I'm a certified functional medicine practitioner. We do a consultation. It can be either in person, you can literally come in the office, or we can do it on Zoom. You don't have to be here in the state of California. I've worked with people all over the country. So maybe you've got a son or a daughter that's living in Texas or South Carolina. I've worked with people everywhere. We do it all over Zoom. We do a consultation. Then we talk about the length of wellness curriculum. That's based on the paperwork that you're going to fill out and provide me. I need to know everything I can about you. First and foremost, I need to know what's going on. It's going to give me what are your goals? What are your desires? What do you want as far as an outcome of doing a program and working with us? And once I have all that information and we're discussing it, what's going on, I will be able to then provide you a plan of action. What does it look like moving forward? This takes time. This will take some time to do. So my normal fee for that is going to be $287. But if you came on earlier, you saw there was a $200 gift. Here's that gift. We're going to reduce that $287 to a simple $87. So if you want to bypass the call and go straight to talking to me and consulting with me about our program to make sure that this is a good fit, it'll be $87 for that length of time that I spend with you on Zoom or in person. If you're going to go down this path, you're going to want to go directly to my website. You can go on the website. You can register there. There's a methodology to pay there. We have a completely secure website. You'll pay your $87, and my staff will contact you and find the best time that works for you to meet with me, either in the office or on the computer. Okay? That's how you would go directly to me. Straightforward. There will be paperwork you need to fill out. It's going to be simple. I want it in advance so that I can really take the time to read about you and understand what's going on with you before we meet. If you can get some blood labs, that would be advisable as well. Contact your doctor's office and send me some blood labs. My staff will go over all this with you. So again, go to the website. You'll go onto our personal website. There's a link there for you. Go onto the website, register, pay your $87. That'll save your spot. My staff will find it. Tomorrow we'll contact you, and they'll make an appointment time, whether we do it live, in person, or on the computer. If, however, you'd like to talk to my gorgeous wife and do what's called a discovery call to really see if what we offer is going to fit with what you're looking for, then by all means do that. Now is really the time that could change your life forever. You're going to follow this link. That's going to set you up for the calendar. So please, don't put it off any longer. COVID's not going anywhere. There's going to be another one next year. This one could reemerge. You need to boost your immune system. And the number one way to do that is to reduce the underlying and eliminate any underlying conditions that are suppressing your immune system. I really appreciate your time today, ladies and gentlemen. There's a question and answer session that's going to start here in a second. So I'm going to ask if you stay on and ask all the questions you'd like, and we'll do everything we can to answer them. But again, thank you so much for your time. And I just want to say to everybody in good health, protect yourselves, wear a mask, wear gloves, and by all means, contact us so that we can help you turn your life around and reverse your type 2 diabetes. Thank you very much, and I look forward to answering questions.